Hi everyone, and Happy New Year. Can you believe we're in 2026? The year of 2025, like every year, was special in its own ways. In this video, I'm going to ask myself questions about my 2025 for my first video of 2026. What thing made my 2025 year most special? I would say the thing that made my 2025 year most special are my experiences with being into sports. First of all, I got to see the Eagles win Super Bowl 59 against the Chiefs, which was awesome. I also went to 2 Phillies and 2 Flyers games, and 1 76ers game. Check out the end of this video if you want to hear more on the second of the 2 Phillies games. But they were all memorable experiences, despite the fact the Flyers can't seem to win for us. I watched more games at home than most people between our teams, since it was my first full year being into it. It was also fun to watch the playoffs between other teams in the 4 leagues that year. Although I'll admit, occasionally I took games too seriously that my teams didn't even play in, if I had a preference for one team to win over the other for whatever reason. What was my favorite multi-day trip of 2025? I brought up all my sports-related memories in 2025, but the year was much more than that. For the first time since 2018, I went to Busch Gardens, Virginia. We started driving there on August 25th, when it was still dark, and left on August 29th in the morning. We rode the roller coasters there that I wouldn't go on 7 years before. We rode Griffon a total of 4 times on our trip. On Wednesday, we went to Colonial Williamsburg. I may have started the day by looking like someone ran over my cat, according to my mother, when I don't even have a cat, but I certainly turned my day around. They also went on a sailboat for the first time as the sun was setting that evening. What was my favorite day trip of 2025? What would I choose for a trip I didn't stay overnight for, but went for a few hours during the day? If I had to pick one, I'd say one of the trips I went on with the work program I'm in, known as JT2. I made a video all about that program back in June. There were a few trips that I particularly enjoyed, like when we went bowling back in January, or when we went to the Philly Zoo in June. And I liked our trip to the Ocean City Boardwalk when I started my second year in September. Those ones were all pretty cool in their own ways. What was my favorite musical experience in 2025? This question is worthy of being answered here, since music first became a part of my life in 2019. On February 21st of 2025, I went to my 3rd tribute concert at the Broadway Theater with my stepdad John and my uncle Brian. We saw a tribute of AC/DC, one of the first rock bands I started listening to. I have a good relationship with my uncle, and it was nice going to one of those shows with him. The show was called Whole Lotta AC/DC. The name comes from their song, Whole Lotta Rosie. We had a great time. As far as I remember, they played every song I was hoping to hear. That's the nice thing about seeing a tribute band. When you see the real band, there may be songs you're expecting to hear that are missing. What is my favorite personal accomplishment in 2025? The work I feel best about that I did in 2025 is not something I did on this channel, but something I mentioned in my video about the work program I attend. When I wrote letters on Google Slides where I said something nice about all my fellow interns and all the staff members, before reading it to them and handing them out. I did this with my classmates at the end of my junior and senior year of high school in 2023 and 2024 respectively. But this time, the project felt like something a lot bigger. Because there were more students, I included the staff unlike before, and even for the people I didn't know as well, I made sure to brainstorm things to fill up the pages. Did I find any new hobbies or interests in 2025? For the most part, my hobbies and interests were ones I had in previous years, although I may have extended to them. If I had to say which was my most original hobby or interest in 2025, I'd say learning about big numbers. While I did this sometimes when I was younger, it's a bit of a throwback. This is why I invented a scale with units to measure both time and space logarithmically. And I made 2 separate videos on each of the 2 topics in 2025 the LTM, and the LSM scale. Did I make any new friends in 2025? Yes, I have. Mostly some of the fellow interns in my work program. I may have known some of them before, but after seeing them for so long in the work program, I started to get along with them more. I still haven't hung out with any of them outside of JT2, but I can comfortably talk to them there. What did I do on my 20th birthday? I turned 20 on October 10th, 2025, which is a big one, as it is with any other number birthday ending in a 0. So why not ask myself the question for this video? Some of you may know this, but I actually had an eventful birthday, because my stepdad's nephew, Bailey, got married, and I went to his wedding. I believe it was my first time of the entire decade going to someone's wedding. Knowing him for as long as I have, it was a heartwarming moment. When that was done, we had what was known as cocktail hour before we went inside the place, where we had a nice dinner and a dance party. It felt a bit intense at times, but it still made for a pleasurable experience and a memorable birthday. What was my favorite joke in 2025? You may be asking, why is this a question? Well, I have a habit of doing a joke with certain people on repeat, and my most overused joke has evolved throughout the years. In 2025, it was one I did mostly to my mom and John to see their reactions. Since our baseball team is the Phillies, the team we most dislike is the New York Mets. So I'd go around the house praising their former player, Pete Alonso, and saying his name at the most random times with no context. We'll just be sitting on the couch and I'll shout out, "Pete Alonso," just like that. And it triggers them every time. I even started doing it to a couple of the staff members in my JT2 program, and one of my fellow interns, because he's a big Philly sports fan. What did I make most progress with in 2025? For every year, there's something I noticeably did better with than I did in any of my previous years. After some thought, I would say the thing I improved the most with from other years in 2025 would be the power of reasoning and logical thinking. It's an important skill to have since it helps you out in different ways. For example, I have said or done things in the heat of a moment without considering the consequences that might follow. And I have failed to consider how someone was feeling. Both of these key components have helped me to handle situations better than I would have in years prior. Of course, I wasn't perfect, but this new way of thinking marked a milestone. One of my fellow JT2 interns has helped me to take inspiration. He has things that trigger him as well, and one day he came to realize that no one else was causing the problem, but it was more of a problem with himself. The words he spoke helped to put things into perspective with myself and anything that might bother me. Now finally, what are my New Year's resolutions for 2026? I came up with several of them. One of them is to always have faith in myself in any obstacle I want to overcome. I would also like to not worry about what others are doing, but think about how I could let something affect me. I would like to not overthink my decisions, whether it's a food or a drink, music I'm putting on, or a game I'm playing, to go with whatever feels right in the moment and be happy with it. And something else I want to improve on from 2025 is my productivity. I spent a lot of time being idle in 2025 and have noticeably not created as much content on YouTube as years prior. Plus, I haven't made any new music or written any stories on Google Docs, like I was doing before. Of course, these changes don't happen overnight, but I just saw a quote that says, "There are no limits to what you can accomplish, except the limits you place on your own thinking." And that's all I got to say about my 2025, and I just hope for the best in 2026 for everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.